Hi YouTube, so I'm back. I do apologize for the delay in the video. I had some things going on, some issues with the devil trying to stop my process. We're not going to really speak on that because I'm moving past it. It doesn't really matter. It didn't stop anything at all, but thank you guys for being patient. In this video, what we're going to talk about is the cycle and how the cycle works. I've had a couple questions from a couple different people about how the cycle works, when do you know you're ovulating, things of that nature. So I just want to talk to you guys about that, and also about temperatures and why charting your temperature is important, or why I think that it's important, I should say. Not everybody does the same things, not everybody believes the same things, but as I said before, this is my journey to pregnancy, so I'm giving you guys the information that I found, the information that I have. So let's get started. The first thing that I want to talk about is the cycle. Everyone asks us a lot of questions about your cycle and how does the cycle work? How does your cycle flow? What is a cycle? Your cycle is basically from the first day of menstruation, which is your period, the first day of your period until the first day of the next period. So basically, that day that you start that period, all the way up until you start your next period. And the day before you start your next period basically ends your cycle. So when you have your menstruation, you go through that phase first, which is the period. You flow, which is basically an egg not being fertilized. That's why you have your period. If you're not having a period every month, that means that you're not ovulating every month. You should have a period every month, because if you have a period every month, that means that you are actually ovulating. So period every month equals ovulation. Usually what happens with ovulation is basically it's 12 to 16 days after your period. So 12 to 16 days after your period ends is usually when most women ovulate. The reason that I said it's important to chart your temperatures is because the temperature gives you a clearer view of when you ovulate. Your body goes up slightly by 0.5 degrees when you are ovulating. So if you were to chart your temperature, you would have to do this every day. When you wake up, before you get out of bed, you want to pop the thermometer in your mouth and take that temperature. Once you take that temperature, you want to chart that down. You want to make sure that you're taking that temperature every day at the same time. And you know, when we say the same time, it's not necessarily, oh, I got to do it right at 8:59. No, you have to do it at 8:59, 30 minutes, give or take. So basically, you have 30 minutes time frame that you can use to take your temperature. Once you take your temperature and you chart your temperature, you will see a pattern of your temperature going up, your temperature going down. And when you first start charting, you don't want to go off of that first chart, because that first chart will not have an accurate enough reading. You have to have a chart at least, I want to say at least 3 months. That's what I think is the most. People say more, maybe 5 to 6 months. But with 3 months of you taking your temperature, you will find out exactly, you know, when you ovulate, when your body is higher at its peak. Your temperature basically is higher when you do ovulate. So you definitely want to do that. Now with your cycle, also after you hit that 12 to 16 days, after you hit that, the egg is released depending on when you ovulate. Once that egg is released from the body after you ovulate, you have 24 hours to basically fertilize that egg. If the egg is not fertilized, then it starts to decompose and it breaks down, and you will start your period again within a couple of days. A normal cycle, they say, is 28 days long, but not everyone's cycle is the same. Like I said, you know, your cycle may be 31, your cycle may be 42, just depending on how your cycle flows. Now, I can tell you anything that is from 23 to 35 days is normal for a period. Anything where your period cycles are longer than 35 days, that's when you start reaching what they call as irregular periods. Basically, you're not ovulating, you're not having that period flow the way that it should. It's something that's off in the body. And it may not always be that you're not ovulating. It may be that your hormones are off as well. So that's always something to think about. With your hormones being off, there is so much that can contribute to this. And a couple people had asked me, about my hormones and how did I know my hormones were off. Well, I had actually had a doctor's appointment a couple years ago, and they told me basically, your hormone levels are off. We want you to go ahead and get on birth control. But I felt like there was a different way besides being on birth control that I could get my hormones back to where they needed to be. So I took birth control for a while, and then I stopped. I am very anti-birth control because it throws your whole cycle off. It'll throw you trying to have a baby off. It'll throw everything out of whack in your body, because essentially what the birth control does is tricks your body into thinking that you're pregnant. So when you do essentially have intercourse, your body thinks, oh, I'm pregnant already. I can't fertilize an egg. So it's essentially messing up the eggs that you are releasing out of your body and making them where they can't be fertilized. It does take time for birth control to flush out of your body. There's many videos here on YouTube about flushing out the body and flushing toxins out the body and all of those things. So you definitely want to Google some of those things if you have been taking birth control, to flush those out of your system. For me, it has been 4 years without birth control. I hate birth control, don't believe in birth control. And it just kind of is what it is for me with birth control. So I want to go ahead and also move on to some of the key factors that may affect your period. Stress. If you're under a lot of stress, your period can be delayed. Your body essentially starts to shut down when you're under stress. So it may start from delaying, your body from making the functions that it's supposed to make in order for you to create progesterone in your body. Basically, when you have a peak in that and a peak in your estrogen, it's ovulation time. But there's no way to really pinpoint when your estrogen and progesterone is up. So the best way to do it, as I said before, is charting your temperature. Weight. A lot of people don't know that. They're like, well, there's plenty of big girls that get pregnant. It is true. There is plenty of big girls that get pregnant. But not everybody's body reacts the same, as I said before. If you're having normal periods and they're spot on, and you feel like you're ovulating, you feel like everything is going right with your cycle, it may just be the pounds that you have. Sometimes losing a few pounds can also contribute to your cycle being more regular, being more on time, just more together.